Please comment where you are watching in the world. So yeah, I don't even know where to begin with this story, but it was the shit, pun intended. If I don't vent here, I might scream into the void or something. I just need to get this out, because I have never in my life been on a date so catastrophically bad. Like, I've had bad dates before, who hasn't? There was the guy who talked about his ex the entire time, the dude who showed up 45 minutes late and didn't apologize, and even the one who tried to split a $12 check 80/20ths because he only had a water. But this was next level. This was the Mount Everest of bad dates. And the thing is, it all started so promisingly. Ugh, okay, let me back up. So I matched with this guy, let's call him Matt, on one of the apps. You know the one where everyone says they're looking for something serious, but 90% of them are just there for free validation or situationships. Anyway, Matt seemed different. He had this really cute, goofy smile, said he loved dogs, important, and his profile had just the right amount of self-deprecating humor without coming across as insecure. He even spelled everything correctly in his messages, which is like finding a unicorn these days. We chatted for about a week, and our conversations were genuinely great, funny, flirty, and way less awkward than most first date preambles. The man even used punctuation. I was impressed. We decided to meet up for dinner and drinks at this trendy little gastropub downtown. You know the type, exposed brick, Edison bulbs, charcuterie boards that cost more than my phone bill. I was excited. Like actually excited. That almost never happens anymore. I even shaved my legs. My legs. In late October. If that doesn't scream high hopes, I don't know what does. Fast forward to date night. He shows up on time, a miracle. Looks even better in person, another miracle. And is super polite to the waitstaff, triple miracle. I'm already mentally planning how I'm going to describe this to my friends in the group chat the next day. You guys, I think I just had the best first date of my life. Dinner goes great. Like amazing. We're laughing, we're vibing, we're doing that thing where you start leaning closer and closer across the table without even realizing it. He orders this massive burger with a side of truffle fries, and I tease him about how there's no way he's going to finish it. He grins and says, "Watch me." It's cute. Everything about him is cute. I'm already picturing us as one of those obnoxious couples who post matching Halloween costumes on Instagram. Too soon? Don't care. The man was fine. After dinner, we decide to grab a drink at a bar nearby. One drink turns into two, and by this point, I'm feeling bold. Like, let's skip the games and go make out on my couch bold. So I suggest we head back to my place. He hesitates for like half a second, just long enough for me to think, oh God, did I misread this? But then he smiles and says, yeah, okay, let's go. Cue internal victory dance. Here's where things start to go south. Literally. We get to my apartment, and I'm feeling great. I've got candles lit, music playing, not too obvious, just a chill indie playlist that says, I'm cool and mysterious but also totally approachable. We're sitting on the couch, and I'm thinking, this is it. This is the start of my rom-com moment. That's when he says it. Hey, where's your bathroom? No big deal, right? People gotta pee. I point him toward the hallway, and he heads off. I'm sitting there, sipping my wine, waiting for him to come back so we can continue our flirty banter and maybe, progress things. But he doesn't come back. 5 minutes pass. Then 10. At this point, I'm starting to think, okay, maybe he's just nervous. First date jitters. Happens to the best of us. I even convince myself it's kind of cute. Like, he's probably giving himself a little pep talk in the mirror. Adorable. But then it's 15 minutes. And then 20 minutes. Now I'm concerned. Not because I think anything's wrong with him, but because I'm starting to feel like I might be the problem. Did I say something weird? Was my apartment too messy? It wasn't. I cleaned for this man like I was hosting the Queen of England. I'm spiraling. Finally, I hear the toilet flush. And then flush again. Y'all, when I tell you the sound of that third flush sent a chill down my spine, I knew. I just knew. Something had gone horribly, horribly wrong. He comes out of the bathroom a minute later, and he looks like he's seen a ghost. Like full-on pale, sweaty, deer-in-headlights vibes. I'm about to ask if he's okay when he blurts out, I think I clogged your toilet. Now, I want to be clear about something. I am not a monster. I get it. Stuff happens. Toilets clog. It's not the end of the world. But the way he said it, the sheer terror in his voice. I knew this wasn't just a little clog. This was a situation. I try to play it cool. Oh, no big deal. I say, smiling like a liar. I've got a plunger under the sink. He doesn't move. He just stands there, looking at me with this haunted expression, like I just told him he has to perform open-heart surgery with a spork. So I sigh, get up, and go grab the plunger myself. Y'all, when I opened that bathroom door, I can't even describe the scene. It was like a crime scene. A poo crime scene. The toilet was overflowing. There was water on the floor. The smell, oh my God, the smell. I gagged. I literally gagged. I turned around, plunger in hand, and he's just standing there in the hallway, looking like a kid who got caught shoplifting. I'm so sorry, he mumbles. I don't know what happened. I'll tell you what happened, Matt. You ate a burger the size of your head, chased it with 2 IPAs, and then decided to ruin my plumbing. That's what happened. Long story short, too late, I know. I spent the next 20 minutes plunging my own toilet while he stood there awkwardly, offering useless suggestions like, maybe try flushing again? Do you not see the water on the floor, Matt? By the time I finally got everything under control, I was sweaty, exhausted, and in absolutely no mood to make out with anyone. He apologized a million times, but the damage was done. I told him I wasn't feeling well and basically shoved him out the door. The best part? He texted me the next day to say he had a great time and wanted to see me again. Like, sir, you destroyed my bathroom. You made me wade through toilet water on a first date. How do you come back from that? Anyway, that's the story of how my dream date turned into my worst nightmare. I'm still single, and my bathroom still smells weird. Thanks for listening, random internet strangers. I was 17 when this happened. He had told me he was 19. It's also not illegal in my state. I met him through a friend of mine. I saw him on her friend's Snapchat story while I was using her phone, asked for his snap, and he added me back, the whole process. I disclosed that I was 17, and he said he was fine with it seeing as he had just turned 19. Anyway, we talked for a few days, and I learned that he lived not too far away from me, worked at a mall nearby, and that we had a lot in common. We planned our date for a Tuesday, which was strange, and he drove me to a theater that's about 40 minutes from my house and an hour from his. Where I live there are 2 much closer theaters, so this was pretty weird. We get there, and I ask him if we can get snacks. He says no, that he plans to go to dinner afterwards. I noticed as he bought the tickets that they were only $12 for both of us combined, but it didn't really matter at the time. That we saw a movie I had really no interest in seeing, but I guess it was all right. He tried to do the old arm around the shoulders trick, which I quickly shut down and asked him politely not to do again. He seemed all right and apologetic. Anyway, we leave the theater, and he asks where I would like to eat. I say Chili's. So we go to Chili's. I, at the time, had been working at McDonald's and was very excited when I got a notification on my phone as we drove that said my first paycheck had been deposited into my account, so I stupidly said out loud, "Just got paid." That was my downfall. We get there, and the first thing he immediately does is order 4 appetizers, and to my horror, orders a drink, and when the waitress cards him, he hands her a horizontal ID. I don't know if other states are the same, but in mine you get a vertical ID until you're 21 and a horizontal one when you're older than 21. I asked him if that was a fake ID, and he just said no. I'm 23. I used to be a real pushover kind of girl. Also, the time was nearing 11, and I was worried my parents would have been mad at me if I called them to pick me up, seeing as the restaurant was a good 30 minutes from my house. I was also scared that he would get angry or violent if I tried to leave, so I didn't try. He gets his drink and orders 2 more throughout the night, on top of a steak, a bunch of sides, and of course 2 desserts. All I had was a burger that I didn't even finish because I was so nervous that I was on a date with an adult 6 years older than I who'd also been drinking. Anyway, the waitress comes around and she nicely hands him the bill and says, "When you're ready." Without hesitation, he grabs it, hands it to me with a smile, and says, "You got this, right?" I didn't even know what to do. I was so meek and easily manipulated that I just put my card in the billfold. I left a $7 tip for the woman, so the bill came out to about $87. We got in the car, he drove me home, tried to give me a kiss, and said, "Let's do this again." I blocked his number as I walked down my driveway. Flash forward to this past summer when I was 18, at the shopping mall he worked at with my friends. Due to some injuries in my legs, I had gained a little bit of weight, but nothing major. We were in the store he worked at, which is a pretty big store. I had forgotten he had worked there until I saw his smug ass, and it was clear he remembered me. He came up to us with a shit-eating grin, and asked us if there was anything he could help us with. We didn't need help, just looking around, but he made sure to say to me, "Wow, you've fluffed out since the last time I've seen you. You look good." Now, I'm a curvy girl. I get this sort of thing a lot. But on top of the bill, the drinking, the lying and the creepiness that he thought a date with a 17-year-old was acceptable, I had had it. I just smiled politely at him, asked my friends if they wanted to go to another store, and as we left I called the store and demanded to speak to the manager. I was pretending to sob, saying how he had made fun of my body, acted poorly to my friends and I, that I would never be stepping foot in the store again, and that I wanted corporate's number to lodge a complaint for harassment. You know, the typical over-exaggerated bullshit. I didn't throw in any sexual harassment terms, because I'm not going to accuse anyone of being something like that, but I was making a scene. I lodged a complaint with 5 different department leaders at the corporate call center and told them I felt uncomfortable shopping in any of their stores ever again because of the treatment I had been subjected to, blah blah blah. 6 days later, hanging out with the friend who set me up with him, she asks me if I remember him. Yes I do, I say. She shows me his Snapchat story. All black, white text, cannot believe I just got fired after 2.5 years for no reason. Turns out his company was an at-will employer. They didn't even have to give him a reason for firing him. He probably doesn't even know it was me. Well, he might now, but that's fine. He was working his way through film school and had to pick up an overnight job at a fast food place to make ends meet. Honestly not proud of this. Using a throwaway because I feel like a piece of shit about it. Also, the whole experience was terrible, so this one is going to be a long one. Started talking to a girl on a dating app. Things were going okay. We decided it would be fun to meet too, but she didn't drive. If I recall, she was 19, so kind of a red flag, and she figured I could drive to her place. I agree, and then I learned she lives about an hour away north of me. I live in a small city. You could almost even not call it a city. But she lived on a town north of the biggest city in my state, which I am always nervous to drive in because city driving is so crazy to me. I do it anyways because interested in girl, and the drive obviously was stressful and crazy. I get out of the city and start realizing this girl doesn't live in something I'm used to. It's a lot more rural than I thought. Like middle of fucking nowhere rural. Whatever, not a big deal, I guess I'm just nervous about the drive. I take a turn down onto the street she lives. I see several trailers. I'm like, oh fuck, okay, well I don't really care if she's wealthy or not. I pass the turn on accident and almost pull into a dead end at the end of the street where some guy's property has a big Confederate flag and a sign that says trespassers will be shot. Reverse down the road. Girl says she'll meet me outside. Immediate first impression, catfished hard. Girl looked almost triple her size from pictures. Well, not exactly a deal breaker for me, because I'd like to think I'm not too shallow. Get out of my car. Next impression is she's very, very quiet. Like I'm thinking, do you even want me here right now? Quiet, but she comes off as really shy was all. Couldn't look me in the eyes. Girl is wearing very baggy clothing. She tells me in a really awkward way that her mom wants to meet me, which made me a little nervous because we had not discussed meeting parents at all, and again, middle of fucking nowhere. As well as at this point I'm noticing how run down this trailer looks. I agree, and follow her inside, and try not to fall into her home's stairs which has fallen apart, and had a plank of wood laid across it to step on. I'm basically kind of scared that I'm getting like lured into someone's house to be attacked or some shit, but trying not to be mean. The house lead to her kitchen, and holy shit this place is a stein. Literally some shit out of the show Hoarders. Garbage everywhere. Girl steps over garbage, and keeps and goes through a fucking door frame with a garbage bag hung from the top like those hippie bead doors, only obviously trashier. I follow her in, and the living room is even worse. Literally piles of garbage all over the place, can't even see the floor. I see her mom, laying on the couch. Mom is immensely obese, but I couldn't really even see her all the way because she's just in this pile of stuff basically. Mom said just a friendly hi. Have fun, girl. Okay. Walked backwards through the house and was thanking God I was outside. Girl says we could go to a park. I'm all about it, because please get me out of here. I let her in my car and realize she has extremely bad hygiene. Like really, really smells bad, extremely poor hygiene. Also notice slight mustache, which I feel very bad about feeling grossed out about, because I know for some girls, like if they have PCOS, that's very hard to manage. But this girl doesn't seem like she cared. At this point I'm kind of ready to just bail, as not attracted to girl, very awkwardly quiet, and just all around a very uncomfortable situation. I follow her instructions on where to drive, and am trying to make conversation. Girl is very quiet. We get to park. She immediately tries to make out with me. I'm like, there's kids literally playing right in front of us. She's like, oh, just pull in over there then. I'm super non-confrontational, so I will often do things I really don't want, and in this case I drove to some other part of the parking lot. Girl keeps kissing me. I'm thinking, okay, I'm not into this at all, but I guess. Kissing is okay. I keep pulling away though and saying, I'm sorry, I'm really freaking awkward. She keeps trying to kiss me, and I'm not into it at all, but whatever, I just wanted the thing to be over. After this I'll make up some BS excuse and go home. I keep doing the whole, yeah sorry I'm awkward, and trying to stop things. Girl makes a comment like, I put on my baggiest shirt because I expected to be bending over the seat. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool, haha. Girl was heavily hinting that she wanted to give me a blow job. I told her, yeah, this is way too public for me, and she's like, oh, start driving. As soon as I'm on the main road, the girl tells me there's a Walmart we can park behind. At this point, I'm not about this at all. I say some shit like, oh, well, I've never actually been in this town. I was thinking it'd be fun if you showed me around, and maybe we can keep driving, right? Fun? And proceed to just drive around like crazy, and all around this non-existent rural area. After this I make up an extra, because she keeps talking about going to the Walmart. I'm like, yeah shit, lost track of time. I need to go study for my exam. I'm really sorry. I drive her home, and she asks me to get out of the car, so she can give me something. I resist at first, but end up getting out. She goes and grabs a very filthy bear plush holding a heart. I muster an thanks. She then says she wants a hug before I go. I'm like, okay. She tries to kiss me one last time. I stop her and she laughs and says, wow, you're awkward, and then I basically apologize and agree. I get back in my car, tell her I'd text her, and speed the fuck out of there. I then close the night out by calling my friend, telling him all about how awkward, gross, and terrible the whole day was, and how driving through the city was just the cherry on top of all the garbage. Worst part of all of this was I tell her it's not gonna work, but the next day was Valentine's Day, fun story but bad time, and felt like a dick for but being into it. Usually I don't mind bad dates, and I don't even mind crazy dates, but there is still one date failure that hurts. I met this girl on Bumble. Her profile was really sparse, there were only 2 selfie pictures and both looked somehow weird, but when we messaged we found out that we had a similar background, and after 30 minutes of messaging, we decided on a date on the next day. I didn't even know what she was doing, and she only had some minimal information about me. I had low expectations, but I liked going out, and the meeting was at my favorite bar. When I met her in real life I was shocked. The pictures didn't do her any justice. She looked gorgeous, was tall, had a beautiful smile, and was extremely kind and intelligent. She was working in education for young children, writing poems, and spent her youth at the same places as me. I was extremely confident and at my best this day. She was constantly laughing at my jokes and obviously enjoyed any minute with me. We talked the whole night until they kicked us out at 4 a.m. The time flew by so fast, I couldn't believe how late it was when we got out. I gave her a hug after the date, when before her bus arrived. But I felt that maybe I should have kissed her. I went happy home and couldn't believe how lucky I was to spend such a great evening with this wonderful human being. The next day I wrote her, and she wrote me that she had a great time as well, and we planned the second date. I thought that this time I would definitely give her a kiss when the moment is right. The second date was a disaster. We planned on going to a small market close to a castle, but when we met it was raining heavily. I picked her off of the nearest train station, and we walked together, but then I went the wrong way, and we spent 30 minutes walking through a sketchy area. I became confused and nervous, and after we finally arrived I realized that this was a really bad place for early dating. We barely had time to talk, walked confused through a place which was overcrowded, obviously pre-corona, and I lost my confidence and was stuttering and behaving like someone who has never been outside. Later on we went to a bar, and I was telling her the most boring stuff about work which probably would have even bored my colleagues. Even after all of this, she was still kind and gave me a chance. But in the end I urged her to dance with me on the street, which she obviously didn't like, and which made her uncomfortable. Then exactly the exact moment the bus arrived, I stopped her and tried to kiss her in the cringiest way. Not only did she miss the bus, because of me she also felt really uncomfortable and rejected my kiss attempt, which was really out of place. I felt like shot for 2 days, and I wrote her a long message and apologized for my behavior. She wrote me back a long message and told me among many things that I am a kind and wonderful man, but that she didn't feel the chemistry. I totally managed to both a perfect first date with the worst second date I can imagine, and I still cringe about my behavior and my decisions that day. Had I been more relaxed and casual like I usually am, and as confident as on the first date, this could have been a wonderful start to a promising relationship. But I don't regret it at all. Because of this experience, I learned to be much more relaxed on dates, and this led to a wonderful relationship a couple months later. Another story to add. Blind date with a doctor. He had said he finds dating hard as women lead him on, and then ghost him when they realize he works shifts. About 20 minutes into proper conversation, after an hour of waiting to be served at the bar, I realize I'm feeling zero chemistry. No, maybe absolutely nothing there. He wasn't bad looking or had a horrible personality to that point. I just felt nada and didn't want to lead him on. So I said to him, I was enjoying his company and appreciated him meeting up with me in London. It was a 40-minute commute for us both. But I wasn't feeling anything romantic and didn't want to lead him on. But we got along fine, and as we had both traveled, I said I was happy to have a few drinks and chat as we had friends in common, and it would be nice to get along as friends. His response, "Oh, thank goodness, I was thinking the same." We stay at the bar alternating who is buying drinks, just soft drinks, and each order our own snacks. Body language and distance clearly in the acquaintance zone. It was pleasant. I start feeling funny, and know I have a migraine coming, and explain I need to leave and why. He says okay, but the second we get outside, he grabs my hand in a vice-like grip and insists on a riverside walk and starts literally dragging me along. I try and pull away, and even though we're in a crowded area, no one intervenes, but after I start saying I need to go, a few people stare. He then grabs me by the shoulders and turns me to face a street performer who is miming about us being on a date and in love, and the guy then stands behind me and holds me in place by resting his arms around my shoulders. He was super tall, with his arms practically choking me in a headlock, but could be construed as a hug to surrounding people. I bend one of his fingers back and escape to the station, and he's following me saying it's okay, I'm just reacting badly because of the migraine, and shouting to bystanders he's a doctor and looking after me. Literally as he's shouting that, a woman in front of me collapses, and a group of us go over to help her out. He is at that point nowhere to be found. Anyway, ambulance arrives and carts her off within probably 10 to 15 minutes. I look around, I don't see him, and I'm pissed he ran off rather than help, which doctors are obliged to do in the UK, and ironically her condition was his specialty. But relived, he's gone. As I enter the station and get on the downwards escalator, he reappears and stands on the step in front facing me, and gets really close, like his face an inch away from mine, saying he's going to see me home. I insist I'm good on my own. He does not need to do an hour round trip and then his own commute. I sit down on the step and cover my face with my hands to get him out of my space. He still didn't get the hint. I got to the stage where I was literally shouting, "No, leave me alone," and he was playing the "I'm a doctor and she's crazy because she's migraining" card. Finally, my medication kicks in with its glorious side effect, and I deliberately puke at him. He threatens to sue me for dry cleaning costs as his trousers got some splatter, but he finally left. He told mutual friends we were dating, and I was seeing him next week. I shared my version, including me texting him to never contact me again. Apparently the guys thought I was mean by rejecting him. They are no longer my friends. This is very long and overly detailed, but it's the only way I can convey how creepy this was. Having become recently single after a 2+ year relationship ended, I was encouraged by my parents to give the nice boy from church a chance as he was beginning to show interest in me. Keep in mind my family, and I knew who he was, but did not know anything about him other than he seemed like a genuinely friendly person. I was not attracted to him in the slightest, but I figured if he was nice and we got along, then maybe I should just give this a chance. I agreed, and he said he would come pick me up from my house, and we would go to the movie theater. He pulled up to the house and walked in, greeting me and my mother. We walked to his car, and on the ride to the theater that was about 30 minutes from my house, the conversation was normal, and it was moving along, nothing awkward, just a good conversation. However, the moment we stepped out of the car at the theater, everything changed. He demanded that I give him my hand, so we can walk in together that way. I thought it was odd, but I agreed to, because what's the worst that holding hands can do? We walk inside, and as we are standing in line to buy tickets, he tells me to kiss him. I tell him absolutely not. I don't even really know him, and our date just begun. He was upset but let go of my hand, and clung to my arm. We walk into the theater, and he immediately tells me that we are going to sit in the very back row. Although it was not a row, it was only 2 seats most likely there for those who were handicapped. I did not want to sit alone with him there as I was already uncomfortable, but I did anyways because I was nervous. The movie came on, and his hands creeped behind me, attempting to go on the inside down the back of my pants to touch my butt. I pushed his hands away, but then he moved them up over my shoulders, letting his hand dangle close to my breasts. I was so disgusted, I got up and told him to stop. A few minutes later, he gets up and tells me to follow him. He stops in the back of the theater and goes in for a kiss, grabbing my face violently, and I tell him no and I went to sit back down. These gross little shenanigans continued throughout the movie. Keep in mind, I had no cell phone at this time, so I couldn't call my mom or anyone to come pick me up. After the movie finished and we walked back to the car, it was just beginning to get dark and I asked him to drive me home. After telling me about how amazing of a night he has had so far, weirdo, he says he will drive me home. Well, instead of taking me home, he turns into a middle school and drives all the way to the back end of the school so that we can play on the tetherball courts. I thought that maybe he was trying to get us to play together to ease the tension he caused in the theater, but after playing tetherball with him for maybe 2 minutes, he says he is done playing and asked if I want to get in the back seat with him. I tell him absolutely not and that I need to get home. He ignored that, grabbing me from behind and pulling me towards himself. If that isn't bad enough, he starts singing. He starts signing the song Anna Sun by Walk the Moon. Don't ask me why, because I could not tell you why. Not that it matters, but he sucks at singing, and I am at this point, horrified beyond doubt, because he is singing into my ear as he is holding me so tight to his body that I could not move. This continued on for about 15 minutes as he cycled through other songs he knew. I repeated I need to get home, and he agreed and we left. As he pulls into my driveway, I guess I hesitantly said I did not really know if I wanted to go on a second date. He floors it backwards out of the driveway and starts driving fast down the road. He begins raising his voice at me about how dare I waste his time, and how it seemed that I was having such a good time that he doesn't understand what could have went wrong. I know, what in the world? To get him to calm down, I told him that I would go on another date. He immediately smiled and stopped screaming, turned around and took me home. He rushed out of the car to open my door for me, and as I was standing up to get out of the car, he shoves his face in mine, absolutely slobbering my face, trying to kiss me. Again, I wanted to vomit. I walked inside and did not tell my parents what happened because I had not processed it yet myself. It does not end here yet, though. The next day, I had not heard from this guy until it was around 9 p.m. I checked my phone to see a message from him telling me that he is outside and to come out so that he can apologize to me for the night before. I stepped outside, not telling my parents because I guess I was dumb, and saw no one. It was pitch black out. I did not see him nor his car. I called out hello and heard nothing, so I turned around to walk in. As I walked away, I heard a whistle. I called out for an answer, but I got another whistle, and it was coming from behind a row of pine trees. I got very scared and began walking in, but he ran out from behind the trees to me and hugged me. He told me that he parked the car down the road and that he has something to show me in the back seat. At this point I was very scared and did not want to upset him, so I walked with him to his car. He opened the back doors and I went to the back seat and he crawled in too. He pulled out a picture that he had drawn of me and asked me what I thought of it. I lied and said I loved it, but I was incredibly uncomfortable. He then lays back on my lap, his head on my thighs, and starts saying how nice this is and how he wants a future with me. He then sits up, takes his shoes off, puts his feet on my legs, and asks me if I think he has big feet. Side note, his feet smelled like vinegar and I wanted to throw up. I was unbelievably uncomfortable and scared about what he was planning to do next, so I sternly told him to drive me back home now. He listened to me and drove me home, which surprised me. He again slobbered my face and said goodnight, acting as if his behavior is completely normal. He texted me for a few days after this, but I never responded. To my surprise, he gave up and I have not heard from him since. I know this entire story made not an ounce of sense, but this is exactly what happened and how he behaved. Why are people so creepy? I was also young, about 17 years old, so I did not handle this the way I should have either. I was very lucky he wasn't violent. Alright, Reddit, gather round, because I have another dating disaster story for you. At this point, I'm convinced the universe is playing some kind of sick joke on me. Like, Oh, you think you're ready for love? Haha, let me just throw a few more curveballs your way. So, as usual, this all began with a guy who seemed perfect. His name was Ryan. We'd been chatting for about a week, and he suggested dinner at this super fancy restaurant downtown. You know, the kind of place with white tablecloths, waiters in suits, and menus that don't have prices on them, so you know everything costs your soul, and maybe your firstborn child. Normally, I'd be like, let's just hit a taco truck, keep it chill. But he insisted. And I thought, why not? I deserve a bougie night out. Spoiler, I did not deserve what was coming. Fast forward to date night. I spent an obscene amount of time getting ready. Hair, makeup, the whole shebang. I even wore heels, which anyone who knows me will tell you is basically a sign of the apocalypse. Ryan shows up looking amazing, like he could have stepped straight out of a GQ ad. He complimented my dress, opened the car door for me, and even made a little joke about how he hoped his tie wasn't too finance bro for my taste. Cute, right? We get to the restaurant, and it's everything you'd expect. Dim lighting, soft music, people sipping wine like they're auditioning for a rich people doing rich things commercial. I'm trying not to feel out of place because, let's be real, I'm more of a bottomless mimosas at brunch girl than a $1.60 entree girl. But Ryan is being so sweet and charming, and I'm starting to think, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe I've finally found a guy who doesn't suck. And then, we're halfway through our meal. He ordered some kind of steak that was so rare I'm pretty sure it mooed when the waiter set it down, and I went for the pasta because carbs are my love language when it happens. Ryan takes a bite of his steak, and suddenly he gets this look on his face like he just realized he forgot to turn off the oven at home. His eyes go wide, he clutches his throat, and he starts making these weird choking noises. At first, I thought he was joking. Like, haha, good one, Ryan. You're pretending to choke for attention, classic first date humor. But then he starts full-on panicking, and I realize, oh my God, he's not kidding. He's actually choking. Now, I'd like to think I'm a calm, collected person in a crisis. I'm not. I'm absolutely not. My brain immediately went into full-blown chaos mode. People at nearby tables were starting to notice, and I could see the judgment in their eyes. Like, oh, look at her date making a scene. How embarrassing. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there thinking, what do I do? Do I yell for help? Do I just hit him on the back? Is that even a thing? Finally, I remember something about the Heimlich maneuver from a first aid class I took in high school. Shout out to Mrs. Peterson, wherever you are. So I jump out of my chair, run over to Ryan, and get this, YLL, I got this, in the middle of the restaurant. Because apparently in my panic, I thought I was auditioning for an action movie. I wrap my arms around him and start doing the Heimlich, which, let me tell you, is not as graceful as it looks in movies. First of all, Ryan is like 6 feet 3 inches and built like a linebacker, while I'm 5 feet 4 inches on a good day. So I'm basically hopping up and down behind him, trying to get enough leverage to squeeze his torso. Second, I don't think I was doing it right because nothing was happening. Instead, he was just making these awful wheezing noises while I grunted like I was trying to wrestle a bear. At one point, I lost my footing and almost tipped both of us over into the table next to us. This poor older couple was just trying to enjoy their lobster bisque, and suddenly, they have front row seats to what I can only describe as a physical comedy routine gone horribly wrong. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, but was probably like 30 seconds, Ryan coughs up this massive chunk of steak. It lands on the floor with an audible splat, and everyone in the restaurant collectively gasps. I'm standing there, red-faced and sweaty, while Ryan leans on the table, gasping for air like he just ran a marathon. The waiter comes over with a glass of water, and someone at another table actually starts clapping. Clapping. Like I just performed a magic trick or something. Once Ryan catches his breath, he looks up at me with tears in his eyes from the choking, not because he was touched by my heroics, and says, "Wow, that was really embarrassing." You don't say, Ryan. You don't say. The rest of the meal was, awkward, to say the least. He kept apologizing, and I kept insisting it was fine, but let's be real, there's no coming back from something like that. Every time I looked at him, all I could think about was the image of that steak chunk flying out of his mouth like a meat missile. After dinner, he offered to walk me to my car, but I made up some excuse about needing to get up early the next day. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Kiss him goodnight, and pretend I didn't just have my arms wrapped around his abdomen while he hacked up half a cow? No thanks. He texted me later that night to thank me for saving his life, his words, not mine, and asked if I wanted to go out again. I haven't responded yet. I mean, do I really want to date a guy who can't even chew his food properly? What if next time it's like sushi or bread or something? Am I supposed to just carry a Heimlich manual in my purse from now on? Anyway, that's the story of how I became a reluctant hero and ruined any chance of feeling sexy on a first date. Thanks for letting me vent. I'm gonna go eat some ice cream and rethink all my life choices now. I'm a woman in my 30s with a reasonably good corporate-type job in a field with lots of room for growth, and am recently back into the dating scene after a decade. I'm kind of a would-be a 10 if she lost 30 pounds looking girl, beautiful face if a bit chubby, but I never have issues getting a date. I'm not well off, but I'm stable and have a bit of spending money. I live in a large multicultural city, and my ex was an immigrant, so I'm open to dating people of any origin. What happened? A few weeks ago, I met a very charming man from a Latin American country, only a couple years younger than me. Seemed very sweet, cuddly, intelligent, family-oriented, emotionally available, educated, and in a good profession back home in his country, and had a lot in common with me. Chemistry seemed amazing inside and outside the bedroom. He was honest that he was in my country on a tourist visa but hoping to stay. I made it clear I wouldn't be able to help him with that, but we'd have a fun summer fling while he was here. If he managed to stay or come back, only then would we consider a real relationship. Then the other shoe dropped. A couple weeks and 4 dates in, during a text conversation about my work, he asked me to be his sugar mommy. I initially laughed and assumed it was a joke. He kept pushing and clearly said it wasn't. Of course, feeling insulted by this, I went off on him. He maintained it as a serious ask until I hit a nerve with my complaints about how embarrassed he should be to ask me that. Then he got angry and insulted me for thinking he was serious about it. No apology for being hurtful to me. Obviously, what I did next was take screenshots and cry about it to my closest friends. I was hurt that I was fooled into thinking he liked me, and that he thought I needed to pay for a man. My friends started the fuse on what happened next. One of my friends started snooping more on his online presence. Together we found about 6 different Instagram accounts that were him using different variations of his name and different photos of himself all uploaded in batches. On Facebook, a similar pattern, all very scammy and suspicious looking. He'd been foolish enough on one of his profiles, though, to follow and tag the employer that he was working for illegally on his tourist visa in my country. So I contacted another close friend in a local law enforcement agency that works with immigration. She looked up his file. He had a wife and daughter at home. I released the hounds after that. The friend who helped me investigate online made several group chats on multiple platforms with all of his family, immediate and extended, and friends. She released all the screenshots as well as a rant about how shameful it was. As they started blocking her, she added more people. I found his sister's phone number. She sent her messages on there too. Everyone he knows, including his wife, know he's unfaithful and trying to take advantage of women. 30 minutes after the online bombardment started, I got a rude message from him about how I should be smart enough to know he was joking and he doesn't need to sell himself. I didn't reply. Next step? Online immigration reporting form with all the info we found. Work info, employer name and address, his home address, full name, DOB, photos, screenshots admitting to working. Usually these reports take months to be reviewed if at all, but I gave the file number to my law enforcement friend. 2 days later, law enforcement officers visited him at home. They found him with a phone number that was issued to a local resident. All his roommates also had numbers issued to the same person, a direct link to the employer. He received a caution for trying to scam me, a no-contact order, and a flag on his immigration file that, based on his country of origin, will likely mean he can never return, as well as a strict warning to not work without authorization. His roommates also received warnings. His employer received a visit next. They found significant proof that they'd been employing him illegally, as well as multiple other people. Their investigation is still ongoing, but so far they are likely to receive tens of thousands in fines or possible jail time. The guy isn't getting deported because the government would have to pay for it, and proceedings take longer than his remaining visa time, but he's now upgraded from a flagged file to a multi-year ban on re-entry to my country. If he bothers me again, though, he will be deported as well. Hope he enjoys going back to his angry wife and the ridicule from everyone he knows. See ya again never.